Well, we're here today to talk about the Mokwheel Slate. The Slate is a folding e-bike that's designed to be easy to carry and store while still performing like a normal size e-bike. The Mokwheel has an anti-theft removable display, so you can take the display off, and without the display you can't get any power with the bike. Basically you push two tabs on the bottom and it pops out, and then basically just snaps right back in to put it back on again. And this, when the display is off, it keeps anybody from taking the bike because they can't, they get no power, so they're basically riding an unpowered bike. So I guess physically they can still take it, they just will not have an e-bike, they'll have a very slow regular bike. The Slate has a 500 watt motor that can dish out about 750 watts peak power. It has a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery that's removable. It has 20 by 3 inch wheels, which are nice. It's not as big as a 4 inch wide wheel, which keeps the bike's weight down, but doesn't really hurt anything as far as ride comfort or anything goes. The Slate has hydraulic disc brakes, which are much smoother and better working than cable brakes. Let's talk about some of our likes and dislikes. Probably the best thing about this bike is the small compact size it has while it's folded. That makes it easy to store. It's easy to put into a car except for the weight. It's fun to ride with good handling. It's a fairly peppy bike with good power for its size, and for a 500 watt bike it has pretty good climbing ability. And the removable display that makes it easy to, easier to keep it from being stolen because the bike has no power when the display is gone. Let's talk about some of our dislikes. At 64 pounds or 54 pounds with the battery removed, this bike is not, easy to pick up and carry anything. It's nice and small, it fits places, but it is not, you probably need help to pick it up if you're not overly strong. The second thing we dislike about this bike is the gearing. Although Mokwheel says it's got a top speed of 25 miles per hour, you have to pedal like an absolute monster to get anything over 20 miles an hour. It's just not geared for higher speeds. My other dislike for this bike is the torque sensor sensitivity at higher speeds. Again, at low speed, you don't have to push much, but again, the faster you're going, at higher speeds above 60 miles per hour, you've got to basically put a pretty good amount of pedal pressure on this to get the torque sensor to kick the motor back in. Other bikes are more sensitive, but this bike, you gotta give them some oomph at higher speeds to get the motor.
So let's talk about how the bike rides.
Overall, the bike's pretty comfortable and feels decent to sit on for a while. Riding the bike without, with no motor, I would say it's rideable, but it's not pleasant. I would not want to ride it a long distance without the motor turned on, but you can do it. Throttle only, the bike goes 20 miles per hour pretty easily. It's got pretty good acceleration, no complaints there about the time it takes to get up to speed or anything. Again, with the wheel size set at 20, the GPS and the display are pretty close together, which is good. And braking from 20, again, the brakes are pretty strong on the bike. I would say no complaints about the brake stiffness, and after 74 miles, we're not squeaking yet. I'd say overall, the cornering and steering of the bike is pretty good. It's kind of a lighter weight e-bike. It doesn't feel like you're riding a tank underneath you. The 3 inch wheels provide plenty of cushion, which is good. I don't find this anywhere near as uncomfortable as some other folding bikes I've ridden where the frame just seems brutally stiff in the back end. There's enough cushion here that it's comfortable to ride on our less than smooth pavement here. So from a standstill, PS1 gives you a little help, but it's not too much, but it's enough to make pedaling fairly easily on flat ground. PS2, it's definitely a noticeable difference when you go to the higher PS levels. 2 makes 15, 10 miles an hour easy on flat ground. 3 is a nice decent amount. I spend most of the time riding this on 3 because it just seems to be, you put a little effort, but you still ride efficiently. PS4, at this point, 4 and 5, it's making it pretty easy to ride. One thing though with 5, it's easy to get to 20 miles an hour, but you've got to really, really push it to get above 20. They say 25, but honestly, your pedal cadence is getting so fast, it's difficult to do much above 20. I think that, this bike is not geared for actually going 25, that's for sure. We're gonna go in the settings menu and change the top speed on the bike. It starts out set at 20. Okay, you can up this to like some ridiculously high number. I think it goes up to like 90. Again, there's no way you're ever gonna go that fast, but we'll set it at 40. And you can see, you know, we use the so it did remember the setting. Okay, we're gonna see how fast it will actually go with throttle now. I'm guessing not much more than 25. If it was anything more than 20. So 24 seems about as high as it'll go, which looks like about 23 on the GPS. So you can get a few more miles per hour out of it by adjusting the settings, but not much. Again, this is only a class 2 bike and it's got small wheels, so I wouldn't expect to get that much more out of it. The torque sensor on this bike is fairly smooth and responsive from a standstill. You don't need to put much effort on the pedal to get the motor turned on. You know, it's slow speeds. The one complaint I have about the Mokwheel pedal assist is, you know, up here at higher speeds, when you stop pedaling and coast for a second, you got to kind of put a pretty big amount of effort in to get the motor to turn back on. It's not nearly as sensitive as some of the torque sensors on other bike brands are in that situation. That's my one complaint about the torque sensor on this, and it was also true of the Mokwheel Asphalt we tested. The torque sensor could stand to be a little bit more sensitive than it is. Well, the Slate seems to corner pretty good. It's, you know, it's a lighter feeling bike. And, you know, overall, I'd say it's pretty easy to corner with it. It feels stable up to higher speeds, so no complaints there. It doesn't feel jittery like some bikes with small wheels do. It kind of feels more like a small or an oversized electric scooter than a bike in how it handles and how the geometry is set up. But again, you know, quick turns. Otherwise, it's, you know, it's a pretty light, peppy bike. It just generally feels good. You know, even little, you know, tight little places like this, it's very maneuverable, you know.
We took the Slate out to our standard hill climb test. This is about a, I don't know, half-mile hill with some 10% grades on it, some not real smooth pavement. I use a 250-pound rider, and we do the test twice, once with throttle only and once with the maximum pedal assist. With throttle only, the Slate took 2 minutes to go up the hill. With pedal assist, it took 1 minute and 50 seconds. For reference, we did the same test with an Aventon Sync 2, and the Slate was about 2 seconds faster on throttle and about 15 seconds faster on pedal assist. So, you know, it performs pretty good on the hill test for a folding bike. We took the Slate out for our standard range test. This is a loop from around where we live out to a park about 15 miles away, around a lake, and then back again. There's a bunch of hills. We ran the test at 15 miles per hour, and we used a 250-pound rider, so this is a pretty good, you know, real-world test of how far the bike will go. It's not a 10 mile per hour with an ultralight rider on flat ground test. With throttle only, the Slate went 30.3 miles. With pedal assist, the bike went 45.2 miles. For reference, we did this test with an Aventon Sync 2 also. It only went 29.2 miles on throttle only and 35.8 miles on pedal assist. So the Slate was slightly better with throttle, but, you know, about 10 miles better on pedal assist. Let's talk about the folding mechanism and how this bike folds. First thing to note, that if you fold the bike with the handlebar removed, it folds into a very compact size. Much more compact than if you fold it without the handlebar taken off. This is the bike folded with the handlebar still inserted, and if you notice, the folding mechanism goes between the wheels. It doesn't go outside the wheels like most other folding bikes do, so if you leave the handlebar on, you have a much bigger size with it, with the handlebar hanging out in front of it.
Let's measure how big the Mokwheel Slate is when it's folded. This is the most compact size you can get it with the handlebar removed. And it measures at 32 inches by 30 inches by 13 inches. So it's 32 by 30 by 13.
So this is a demo of folding the bike. It takes about a minute to do. Again, the first thing you want to do is slide the handlebars out of the top tube, because you can't do it once you start the rest of the process. And again, if you don't do this, the bike is not nearly as compact. So again, slide the handlebars out first. Then you can go about folding up the pedals and, you know, opening the latch and folding the actual frame shut. Overall, you know, it takes some effort to fold the mechanism in the middle. It's not the smoothest, but it's not, you know, nearly as bad as the Avington Sync was we had before, which you almost had to step on it to get the bike to fold. Again, it's a little bit awkward because the bike still weighs, you know, 50 pounds. It's not light, so it takes some effort to get through this. Again, overall, it's about a minute after I've done it a bunch of times to get this completely into the folded position. There, everything is folded up, nice and compact, small package you can easily fit in the back of your car. Here for reference, this is the bike in the back of a Ford Edge, and you can see it does fit in there. We did have to fold the seats down because the handlebars were still hanging forward in this, but with the handlebars off, it probably would have fit with the back seats up.
Let's talk about some of the displays and controls. So to start with, it's got the anti-theft display, which is removable. Again, just pop the two buttons on the bottom and then it comes off. And then just snaps right back in place. Again, it's got a throttle on the left handlebar. It's got a bell on the right handlebar. And then you can see the shifter has some like numbers on it to show what gear you're in. And it's a standard kind of push button Shimano shifter. Then the display is color. You have to hold the button about 5 seconds to get it to come on. It's a little bit longer than you normally would. And you know, it has PS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, throttle only works if you're in at least PS1. You get the headlights by holding down the plus button and hold it down again to turn them off. And you get a walk mode by holding down the minus buttons. Okay, to get to the menus in this, basically the first menu is holding the plus and minus button down. And that gets you the first set of settings. No, when you get the bike, it comes with a wheel diameter set as 22 inches. And you'll want to, you know, it starts at 22, and you'll basically want to set at 20 to make the speedometer a little bit more accurate, because otherwise it's going about 2 to 3 miles per hour faster than you're actually going. 20 is actually the correct number because this has 20-inch wheels. Hit the power button to hold the setting, and then you're good. Back out. The other set of menus you get to by holding the left and right button. And this is where you can change like your throttle top speed, your PS speed limit, and a few other settings. If you want to slow the throttle speed is probably the one. The startup mode is probably the next most significant one. Free mode basically means the throttle works any time, whether it's standstill, as long as you're in PS1. Safe mode means the throttle only works while the bike is moving, so you've got to roll it and take a pedal stroke before you get any action out of it. Again, this bike also has turn signals. If you press the plus button or the left button, you'll notice in the back you get a flashing light. And same thing for the other direction. And then you also get brake lights with these, which is pretty standard, but you know, when you hold the brake down, you get brake lights in the back, whether the lights are on or not. And it does use separate LEDs, so you can have brakes and turn signals at the same time. Also note that the handlebar height is adjustable. Basically loosen the quick release on it. And you can up the height to whatever height you want. I usually leave it pretty low.
Mokwheel publishes a rider size for this bike of between 5 feet and 6'2". Here's an example of someone who's 5'6" riding the bike around, and she definitely you could go a little bit smaller with the rider and be fine. Here's an example of me riding the bike around who's 6 feet, and I would say the 6'2" max height's probably pretty good. I leave the handlebars all the way down, but again, once you get the seat up higher, the handlebars are gonna be pretty close, so probably be, start getting uncomfortable. So overall, I think the size range is probably pretty good for the bike. Overall, the Mokwheel Slate is a good bike for someone looking for a folding bike. It's not the lightest folding bike at 64 pounds, but it's far from the heaviest as well. It folds down to a pretty small, compact size once you get the handlebar off. The only real complaint we had about it was the torque sensor. It's nice at slow speeds and starting, but it requires too much effort to get the motor activated at higher speeds. Overall, it's a fun bike to ride with good performance for a 500-watt folding bike. Thanks for watching. Please remember to give us a thumbs up before you go. And remember to subscribe so that you can get our future updates.